Hi, welcome to STTV YouTube channel. Today we want to talk about Mahsa Amini's protests in Iran country.
این هوای آلوده برای ولیعصر و درختای فرسوده، برای پیروز و احتمال انقراضش، برای سگهای بیگناه ممنوعه، برای گریه های بیوقفه.
An ongoing series of protests and civil unrest against the government of Iran began in Tehran on 16th of September 2022. As a reaction to the death of 22 years old Mahsa Amini, who had been arrested by the Guidance Patrol for wearing an improper hijab in violation of Iran's mandatory hijab law while visiting Tehran from Saqqez. According to the eyewitnesses, Amini had been severely beaten by Guidance Patrol officers, an assertion denied by Iranian authorities. The protests quickly spread from Amini's hometown of Saqqez to other cities in the province of Kurdistan and to other provinces within Iran. In response to these demonstrations beginning on 19th of September, the Iranian government implemented regional shutdowns of internet access. As protests grew, a widespread internet blackout was imposed along with the nationwide restrictions on social media. Supreme leader of Iran dismissed the widespread unrest as riots caused by foreign states and dissidents abroad. Women, including school children, have played a key role in the demonstrations. Besides increased rights for women, many demonstrators have demanded the overthrow of the Iranian government. The protests have been seen as the greatest challenge to the Iranian government in decades. According to Iran Human Rights, as of 25 of October 2022, at least 240 people had been killed as a result of the government's interventions in the protests, involving tear gas and gunfire, making the protests the deadliest since 2019 and 2020 protests that resulted in more than 1,500 fatalities. The government's response to the protests was widely condemned. Initial protests, mostly led by women, demanded an end to the mandatory hijab. These protests evolved into a national revolt. The protests became more widespread than those of 2017 and 2019, encompassing even Islamic Republic power base such as the holy cities of Mashhad and Qom. Unlike some previous protests, the new protests involved both urban middle classes and rural working areas. In addition, schoolgirls demonstrate in numbers for the first time. While continuing the protests, Amini's death and demanding an end to a mandatory hijab, Iranians also advocated for wider freedoms and women's rights and protested against the morality police, the Ayatollahs, and theocratic regime. Unlike many previous Iranian protests, protesters appear to be demanding a wholesale change in the government rather than limiting themselves to incremental reforms. According to Radio Free Europe, economic hardship and poor living conditions contributed to the growth of the protests. The New York Times itemized the Iranian grievances such as soaring prices, high unemployment, corruption, and political repression, and identified the poor Iranian economy as a major force behind the protests. According to an Iranian report in August 2021, a third of Iranians live in poverty. In response to the protests, people held demonstrations in support of the government across several cities in Iran. in an attempt to counter the protests. The Iranian government referred to these counter-protests as spontaneous. The pro-government protesters called for anti-government protesters to be executed and referred to them as Israel's soldiers, whilst shouting "Death to America" and "Death to Israel," reflecting Iran's clerical rulers' usual narrative of putting the blame of unrest on foreign countries. Media coverage has been hampered by both new and continued Iranian restrictions on speech, including internet shutdowns and arrest of journalists. While NBC News has retained a corrupt stand in Tehran, most Western outlets have had to rely on their networks of contacts, on human rights groups, and on social media content. According to BBC News, an Iranian government disinformation campaign has cranked out social media videos and fake interviews, and had also attempted to trick Western media into reporting falsehoods. They can then say foreign media is reporting fake news. Responses by Iranian government. The government seeks to prevent the protesters from coordinating and from coming together under a unified leadership. Because professional militaries sometimes refuse to attack their own people, Iran prefers to rely on the Basij to enforce domestic order against protesters. With technological support from China and Russia, Iran maintains the capability to shut down internet and cell phone services. If protesters bring phones and neglect to disable tracking, the government attempts to track and identify the protesters through the phone's GPS. CNN interviews have charged Iran with tactics such as forced confession, threats to uninvolved family member, and torture, including electric shocks, controlling droning, and mock execution. Internet blackouts. Beginning on 19th of September, the Iranian government initially cut off internet access regionally in order to prevent images and videos of the protests from reaching a worldwide audience, and to hinder protesters from organization effectively, blocking popular social media channels, Instagram and WhatsApp in Saqqez and Sanandaj for a few days. With the spread of demonstrations to over 80 cities across the country, the government repeatedly shut down mobile networks. According to the internet monitoring group NetBlocks, these are the most severe internet restrictions since the November of 2019. When during of 2019 to 2020 protests, the internet was completely shut down for a week, and 1,500 protesters were killed by government forces. Prior to the protest, access to social media was already heavily restricted. Facebook, Telegram, TikTok, and Twitter were all previously blocked. Beginning on 21 of September, Instagram and WhatsApp were also blocked nationwide. Iranian state media has said that imposed restrictions are due to national security concerns. As of 24 of September, access to Skype has reportedly been blocked. As of 29 of September, the Apple App Store, the Google Play Store, and LinkedIn have also been blocked. However, multiple monitoring groups have documented rolling connectivity blackouts affecting Iran's largest mobile carriers, with a curfew-style pattern of disruption that lasts for 12 hours at a time. It has also been reported that text messages are being filtered, and communications with Mahsa Amini's name are blocked from delivery to the intended recipient. During the 2022 Climbing Asian Championships held in Seoul in mid-October, Iranian climber Elnaz Rekabi received international attention for competing without hijab. She returned to Tehran. She was greeted as heroine by a cheering crowd at Tehran airport, arriving with a baseball cap and hoodie. Rekabi stated that the act was not intended to be symbolic, claiming publicly that she had been in a hurry and that her headscarf had fallen off accidentally. Human rights organizations and activists suggested that Rekabi had been coerced by the Iranian authorities. As of 21 of October 2022, Rekabi was under house arrest according to BBC News and France 42, while Iranian authorities stated that Rekabi was at her home because she was in need of rest. It's been 1 month and 2 weeks, and it caused by death of Mahsa Amini, mandatory hijab law, crackdowns against the Iranian democracy movement and Girls of England protests, human rights abuse against women and girls perpetrated by the morality police, killing of hundreds of protesters fueling anger. And the goals are dismantlement of Islamic Republic of Iran, the protection of civil and political rights including women's rights, revoking mandatory religious requirements such as the mandatory hijab law, dissolution of the morality police, police and government reforms. As of 20th of October, it's been 30,500 arrested cases and more than 900 injuries and more than 250 protesters that died. Let's stand with the good Iranian people and protesters, cause they deserve a good life without ayatollahs and mullahs, and they deserve to live good. Thanks for your watching.
این هوای آلوده برای ولیعصر و درختای فرسوده، برای پیروز و احتمال انقراضش، برای سگهای بیگناه ممنوعه، برای گریه های بیوقفه، برای تصویر تکرار